In this video, we're going to use try-catch to improve the code for our Notes and To-Do app. There's one situation where we're going to be implementing it. Now, if you remember in the last video, I said that just because a program throws an error does not mean any code in the program needs to change. And this is true when we're relying on external things, whether it's an external data source or some sort of external server or network. And I gave the analogy of a cell phone. Just because your cell phone can't connect to the internet does not mean any code in the cell phone's software needs to change. It might be a problem with the external source, in this case a Wi-Fi router. So with our code, we don't need to change our code, but there are situations where what these apps rely on can indeed be problematic. What do both of these apps rely on? They rely on local storage. Now the problem with this is obvious once we crack open our file. So I'm going to close down all of these files, and we're just going to start with the Notes app, although we'll be addressing the exact same problem with both. And the problem is sitting right here. Right here, inside of Get Saved Notes, we are reading data from local storage, and without doing any sort of validation, we're blindly parsing it, assuming that it's JSON. Now this assumption might be correct, but what if it's not? What if there's other data stored inside of there? Well, we would actually get an error and our program would crash, becoming unusable for the user. Let's go ahead and see what would actually happen by messing with the data that this app relies on. All I'm going to do to do that is go over to the Storage tab, and under Local Storage, we're going to mess with the data. Currently, it's just an empty array. This is valid. Let's just go ahead and get rid of the closing square bracket. That is going to be invalid JSON, and we're going to run into an error when we actually try to parse things with JSON.parse. To see the error, let's switch back over to the console tab, then all we're going to do is refresh the page. This is going to require it to pull the data out of local storage again, and when it does, we're going to be able to see exactly what happens. And here we go, we're getting a syntax error in the browser, JSON.parse, unexpected end of data at line 1, column 2 of the JSON data. So what this is saying is that it looked at our JSON data and it seemed to be missing stuff. And obviously, yes, it was. What we put in there was not valid, and JSON.parse is letting us know. It's also crashing the program. So if I tried to create a new note, I actually can't. So we need to make sure we handle this error in a way that allows the user to continue on, even if there is invalid data. We don't want this error to just crash everything. Now, in order to fix this, what we're going to do is make a slight adjustment to Get Saved Notes, and we'll make the same adjustment to Get Saved To-Dos. The first line is going to stay exactly the same. We're still going to blindly read the data out of local storage. Nothing wrong with that. Next up, though, we're going to add a try-catch statement. So try with our block, catch with our error and our code block, and then we're going to take this line exactly as we already have it, cut it out, and paste it up above. So at this point, if everything goes well, the application will still work. We're going to correctly return the parsed JSON. If there was nothing in local storage, then we'll return an empty array. The problem is that we don't do anything if the data in local storage is invalid for some reason. We can actually go ahead and fix that by adding some code right here in catch. Try is going to throw the error, which means catch will run, and all we're going to do inside of here is return an empty array. So if the data is invalid for some reason, that's okay. We're just going to go ahead and cut our losses, returning an empty array, allowing the user to continue on adding new notes. So now if we were to save the notes functions file and head into the browser, we would be able to see this new functionality. Right here, the page has refreshed, and what are we getting? We're not getting an error, which is great, even though the data in local storage is still invalid. And now we can go ahead and actually get some valid data inside of there by clicking Create Note. Create Note is indeed going to work, and now we're in a situation where we can actually continue on with the application and do something meaningful. In this case, that would be creating and actually filling out all of the notes that we need. So there we have it. With a little try-catch call inside of here, we can make sure we more gracefully recover from errors that a user of our application would not even be able to tell were being thrown. No user is going to open up the console when the app doesn't appear to work for some reason, so it's up to us, the developer, to make sure we handle some of these edge cases. Now we're going to take the exact same logic and bring it over to the To-Do app, and then we'll be all done with this one. Nothing new here. We have the exact same function, just with a different variable name. So once again, setting up try-catch. Inside of our try block, we add the exact same line we had before. Inside of the catch block, we just return an empty array, a good starting point for when there is invalid data in local storage. And there we have it. We now have a try catch set up for both applications, and that's where we're going to stop for this one. There's just one video left for this section. I'm excited to get to it, so let's go ahead and jump right in.